Good morning, Bucknutters. Welcome to the Bucknuts Morning 5 here on Thursday, August 13th, 2020. I am Dave Biddle. I am very happy to be joined by the Director of Recruiting for 24/7 Sports, Steve Wiltfong. Steve, how is 2020 treating you so far, my man?
Man, we're maintaining here. Better than most, or better than many. I don't know. We're surviving here. Schools are open in my suburb here in Indianapolis, and my wife and I are still gainfully employed. So I'm excited to be on the Bucknuts Morning 5 every Thursday talking to y'all, and hope everyone else is doing as well as I am.
Yeah, we're hanging in there over here as well. My daughter is beginning her middle school tennis season, so they're actually having 7th and 8th grade girls tennis here in Ohio, but we might not have Ohio State football until 2021. In fact, we definitely won't have Ohio State football until sometime in 2021. Let's start right up the top there, Steve. A lot of people want to know, with the Big Ten calling off football for the fall, they're going to try and play in the winter. We'll get to that in a little bit, but a lot of people are wondering what impact this might have on Ohio State's recruiting. Do you feel like this is going to have a negative impact on Ohio State's recruiting? You feel like that's going to have no impact at all? Where do you come down on that, Steve?
I'm not sure what my opinion is yet, because there's the one thing. There's the one way to think that, all right, the ACC, the SEC, and the Big 12 are potentially playing, so they're gobbling up all the TV space and the headlines and social media, and they're able to showcase their product. And the teams that aren't playing aren't going to get as much attention. I would say the flip side of that is the schools that aren't playing will then obviously be able to zero in on recruiting and spend more time recruiting their top targets. I think if you look at Minnesota's first class, when they recruited Rashad Bateman and Terrell Smith and some of those impact guys for them, they didn't play in a bowl game that year. Those guys were on flip watch. Out of Georgia, Rashad Bateman and Terrell Smith especially, who are two of the best players in the Big Ten, obviously. I think that maybe not playing in a bowl game maybe gave them more time to recruit those two guys and bring them in and sign them, because they were able to get more attention. So I don't know what my true opinion is yet. I think that if Ohio State's not playing games in the fall and other programs are, I bet you Ryan Day somehow gets a lot of face time as an analyst, if he were potentially interested in that, which means now Ohio State's on TV regularly with Ryan Day contributing in that regard. I don't, this is all just me speculating on all of this. It's foreign land for us. But I do know that Ohio State doesn't get cheated on the recruiting trail. Their staff from top to bottom works as hard at it as anyone in the country. You got Al Washington at the top of the 2022 recruiter rankings. You got Tony Alford and Kerry Combs and others at the top of our 2021 recruiter rankings. And, Ryan Day and those guys all the way down to Mark Pantoni and his staff are going to find ways to stay relevant on the recruiting trail. I don't know if it's a benefit to play or not play right now, going into the home stretch of recruiting, because I wouldn't expect they're going to move the early signing period or signing day.
Yeah, one thing I know for sure I can tell all the listeners is Ryan Day will find a way to make the most out of it. Now, we don't know, like what Steve is saying, we don't know how it's going to turn out, but I know Ryan Day is not going to sit there and sulk. We had a call with him yesterday. He is going to, he said a couple of days ago was devastating for him and the team, but they've turned the page and they're getting back to work, and he's going to try and make the most out of this bad situation. Steve, I want to get your reaction. By the time we heard the news on Tuesday, I guess it wasn't a huge shock because so much leaked out over the weekend, but it was just 8 days ago, man, where the Big Ten had this big schedule unveiling, and then they decide, just a few days later to call off the fall season. What was your reaction when that news came down?
Well, I was disappointed because I feel like football can be played. And I think that, look, I'm no more an expert on COVID than y'all. We all go about how we look up our information. For me, I go to the indiana.gov coronavirus dashboard every day and look at the numbers, because I feel like the media has their narratives that they're pushing on how people should feel about COVID. I just try and go to the information, and you were going to ask me a question about Ohio high school football being played. So I pulled up the coronavirus state of Ohio dashboard this morning, and the numbers aren't much different in your state than they are in mine as far as who I think is at risk and who's not. I mean, we're all at risk. I believe it to be a real illness, but I'm in the camp is the solution worse than the problem camp. That's where I lay.
I hear you, and yeah, you touched on this, so let's get to it. Yeah, Ohio Governor Mike DeWine is expected to announce at his press conference today that he is going to be in favor of playing high school football here in the state of Ohio. Can you imagine the irony if there's high school football in Ohio this fall, Steve, and no Ohio State football?
Well, that sucks that there's no Ohio State football, but that's not Ohio high school football's problem.
Right.
And they should play. I mean, I'm looking at your guys' numbers here. There's been 2 deaths in the entire state from 0 to 19, and those deaths suck, but there's just 2. 14 from 20 to 29. It really registers as 0% of the death total in the state of Ohio. You got 1%, 30 to 39. There's been 46. It sucks that there's been 46 deaths. I'm compassionate about that. But you really don't start getting into the numbers of deaths until the upwards of 60. You're at 14%. So only about 10% of the deaths are 60 and under, and most of those are between 50 and 59. I know that there's more to it than just deaths, but that's kind of where I begin on it, Dave. And then I certainly recognize that young people can spread this and it can get to older people. So I'm in the camp of how can we prevent that while still allowing people to carry on as best as they can in these times. I know there's people that disagree with that, and that's fine too. I'm not, but for me, that's just the way I'm looking at it. And my kids are in school right now, and we're doing our thing, and we're wearing masks and doing all the things that are courteous to other people and trying to mitigate the spread of COVID. But the data, to me, the way I look at it, and again, others can look at, I'm not even saying my opinion's right. This is just the way I feel. And so I'm for high school sports. And as far as I know, Indiana's going to kick off next Friday here and play some games too. I haven't heard different anyway.
Steve Wiltfong bringing data and facts to the show. What a concept.
I'm bringing my own perspective. Again, it doesn't make it it's arbitrary though, Dave. Like, I understand that there's counterpoints to what I said, and I get that, and so I don't, thankfully I'm not the one in the position to have to make these decisions because they are hard decisions. It's not lost on me how hard of a decision. There's no way that anyone wanted to cancel the Big Ten season that chose to cancel it. I can promise you that. So it's not like that. It's not lost on me the magnitude of these decisions that these folks are making.
Speaking of these decisions that these folks are making, the Big Ten's latest plan is to have, people are calling it a spring season. It would really be a winter season beginning in January. The season would be 8 games. January, February, March, 8-game regular season. And we had a Zoom call with Ryan Day yesterday, and he seems to think this is a viable option. You think, man, maybe he's just, kind of carrying the water for the conference, saying the right things, but he talked about it a lot. And, I've gotten to know Ryan Day somewhat well. I don't know him like that well, but I know him pretty well. And he seemed genuine, Steve. He seems like he really feels like this, this January, February, March season is a legit option. I don't know, man. That just seems untenable to me. Where do you come down on that?
Well, I just it's hard for me to imagine playing 2 seasons in 1 calendar year. But I don't. Again, it's foreign territory, so I would just side with in that case. I would side with, again, what do the coaches feel is best? If they're all excited about an 8-game schedule, who am I to say it's dumb? So they're the ones that are living it, and if they think it's beneficial for their programs and the players are excited to play it, and then certainly what college football brings to communities across the country, if it benefits those communities, I'm all for it, but I don't know. I have some worry about just football is a tough game, man. And so playing two campaigns in 1 year, I don't know how I feel about it, but again, I know a lot less about that than coaches and players right now.
Just going to get your opinion on this, and someone we know very well, Shannon Terry, had a very interesting tweet yesterday saying he's hearing unless things drastically change, the SEC, ACC, and Big 12 will play this fall. And again, he said, things could change, but he's hearing from sources that it is all systems go right now for the SEC, ACC, and Big 12. Again, Steve, just asking you to spitball here. Do you think that those leagues will play this fall?
Man, it's obvious they want to play. I don't know. I'm not digging on that information. I'm digging on where Malcolm Johnson Jr. is going to announce his college decision Saturday. That's more my lane. I think that every football team wanted to play. I talked to a source around the Indiana football program that, similar to Ohio State, was disappointed with the decision to not play. They all want to play, but even though at the beginning of the show I pitched why I think they should be allowed to play, I certainly understand there's another side of the coin, and so these aren't easy decisions. I just hope that people are making decisions based on what they feel is right and not based on how they feel there's going to be a response on social media to what they decide to do, or if something doesn't go right down the road. Again, their decision is based on how they're going to be, how it's going to look on social media.
Switching gears to recruiting, to your forte, what happened with Tanisi Adelaide? He obviously decommitted from Ohio State earlier this week, high 4-star defensive end. Just in your opinion, what happened there?
And I don't have an exact answer for why he specifically decided to decommit from Ohio State, but I'll say this. If you're a prospect and you're committed to a school and you keep the lines of communication open with other programs, there is a solid chance that you could reopen, because when you're talking to the magnitude of the programs that Tanisi is talking to, just using him as an example, not saying this happened or this is why, but you don't get jobs at Alabama, Florida, and Texas A&M or Ohio State if you aren't able. Like, your product is great, and the way you can communicate about your product is typically great. And so if you continue to hear, hey, this is why this schools B, C, and D are also a great fit for you, it may make you second guess why you chose school A, if you understand what I'm saying. So, and it's not just in recruiting. If you are going to purchase a house, you may second guess, or you may continue to look at other houses and say, I don't know if the one I've settled on is the best one for me and my family, or when you're car shopping or anything, big decisions, you can easily second guess your decision if you're getting new information on potentially other decisions that are also attractive to you. Now, again, I don't know what it was about Tanisi and why he's not exactly in the fold for Ohio State anymore, but I do know he was talking to other programs, and those other programs also have potentially exciting futures for him as well. And so if you're hearing those things, it can make you want to take a step back and reevaluate what you're doing. And he may already know what he's going to do next. I truly don't know. And if that's the case, then that's a recruiting pivot, and he's still, that other school was able to show him some things that he liked better than he did at Ohio State, obviously.
Thanks to all the listeners for tuning in. I hope everyone has a great day. Steve Wiltfong, great stuff, man. Thanks for joining us.
Yep. Take care.
Have a good one, Bucknutters.